After a long night shift, a black janitor with only $50 left to fix his car saw a poor white mother thrown out of a bakery for lacking money to buy bread and medicine for her sick daughter. Ignoring the manager's scorn, he gave up his last dollar to help. That choice cost him his job, his car, and almost his sister's future in medical school. But he had no regrets, and that quiet act of kindness was repaid in a way no one expected. Before we dive in this story, let us know where you're watching from. We love to hear your thoughts. It was a Monday morning, the city draped in a thick blanket of snow, dyeing everything in a cold gray. The biting east wind howled, carrying the characteristic chill of mid-January. Sweet Haven Bakery was still lit, but its warm yellow glow only seemed to highlight the bitter cold outside. Inside, the usual bustling chatter had quieted, replaced by hurried footsteps and shivers from the cold. Marcus, tall and reserved, had just finished his night shift. He had been awake for 3 consecutive nights, working overtime to make ends meet. His dark blue uniform was still damp with lingering snow, and his heavy rubber boots left muddy tracks on the shiny bakery floor. He stepped inside, trying not to draw attention, just wanting to quickly grab a pastry before heading back to his lodging. His old truck, a faithful companion on every road, was sputtering with heavy breaths. It didn't just need repairs, it was on its last legs. If he didn't fix it immediately, it would die completely, meaning Marcus would lose his night cleaning job, his only source of income. A silent fear crept into his heart. Without this job, he wouldn't be able to send tuition and living expenses to his only younger sister, who was in her final year of medical school in a distant city. She was the family's last hope, a promise he had made to his deceased parents. He couldn't break his promise to them, couldn't let his sister's future fade away. Marcus had only $50 left in his pocket. This was all he had, just enough to pay the deposit for the mechanic, and a small amount for basic groceries to last a few days. He quietly stood in line, his gaze fixed on his father's old watch on his wrist. The second hand steadily ticked forward, each tick a constant reminder of the passing time and the heavy responsibilities weighing on his thin shoulders. What should I do? The question echoed in his mind. He had to choose, fix the car to keep his job, or... His eyes showed no sadness, only hardened resolve, and a deep-seated worry for his sister's future. Standing in front of Marcus was a frail white woman with a pale face holding a small girl. This was Kesha, and the little girl was Ava, about 5 years old. Ava's big round eyes stared longingly at the colorful pastry display, her tiny finger pressed against the cold glass. The child's gaze was full of craving, an innocent yet heartbreaking look, clearly revealing exhaustion and weariness. Kesha whispered something to her daughter, her face tired and tense, deep wrinkles around her eyes betraying long sleepless nights. Kesha didn't just lack money for pastries, she had been evicted from her lodging last night because she couldn't pay. Absolute terror engulfed her. The mother and daughter had spent the night huddled at a desolate bus stop, freezing and starving. Little Ava had a severe cold, coughing constantly, her face pale. She didn't have a single penny left, and knew that without medicine and immediate shelter, the child's life could be in danger. They hadn't eaten all day. What am I going to do now? Oh God, my baby, she prayed silently, feeling utterly helpless. When it was her turn, Kesha handed her payment card to the cashier. The familiar beep sounded, but instead of success, a red light kept flashing. The cashier tried again, then shook her head. Your card was declined, ma'am, she said reluctantly, but loud enough for everyone behind them to hear. Kesha's heart sank, a wave of shame and humiliation rising to her throat. Mitchell, the store manager, a white man with a meticulously trimmed mustache and an elegant suit, immediately appeared. His head was seething with annoyance and contempt at the sight. He looked Kesha up and down, his eyes filled with disdain, as if she were dirt on his polished floor. What's going on here? If you don't have money, don't come in and bother my store. Your ragged appearance is scaring away customers. Get out now. Mitchell's voice was shrill, not hiding his irritation, even amplifying it. He felt a twisted satisfaction seeing Kesha shrink back. He bent down, roughly pulling little Ava's hand, who was clinging to the counter. Hey kid, don't dirty our stuff, Get out, or the police will come and drag you away. Ava flinched, looking at Mitchell with terrified eyes, her lips pressed tightly, tears welling up. She clutched her mother's hand, trembling, dry coughs escaping with difficulty. Kesha felt her chest tighten, as if an invisible hand was squeezing her heart. Mitchell's gaze, his venomous words, were like knives twisting into the wounds of a single mother already too familiar with contempt. Why me? Why is life so unfair? She wanted to disappear from this place, from all the eyes staring at her and her child. She hugged Ava tightly, her shoulders shaking, trying to hide the tears that threatened to fall. The entire bakery was silent, all eyes fixed on this heartbreaking scene. The customers around, mostly elegantly dressed, just watched in silence, no one speaking up, some even discreetly turning away, pretending not to see. Their silence was colder than the winter wind outside, a chilling indifference that made Kesha feel utterly alone, sinking deeper into the abyss of despair. Marcus felt a lump in his throat, a surge of indignation rising in his chest. Unacceptable. How could he treat a mother and a child like that? He remembered his father's words, a man who always stood up for what was right, never bowing to injustice, no matter the cost. This injustice, this public humiliation, was like a knife plunging straight into his heart. He looked down at his father's old watch on his wrist, feeling its weight. His eyes swept over the trembling Kesha, then stopped on little Ava's pale face and dry cough. His mind wrestled fiercely. He knew that if he used his meager $50 to buy that pastry and some medicine for the child, he would lose the $50 car repair deposit, and the car would surely break down permanently. Losing the car meant losing his night cleaning job. Losing his job meant no tuition money for his sister. She would have to drop out of medical school, and the future of both siblings would be shattered. Moreover, he would have to face hunger in the coming days because he had used up his last money to help them. He would face a bleak future, with no income for a long time. It was a cruel trade-off, a choice between his own fragile stability and his sister's future, with an act of kindness for a complete stranger, accompanied by self-sacrifice. The weight of responsibility and conscience tore at him. What should I do? My sister, but this child needs help. I can't ignore it. But when he saw Ava coughing so badly, her eyes craving and frightened, Marcus couldn't bear it anymore. His conscience wouldn't allow him to turn his back. He took a deep breath, as if swallowing all the helplessness and pain within him. Without a moment of hesitation, with determined eyes, an ultimate resolve, Marcus walked straight to the counter. He placed exactly $50 on the counter, the sum he knew would determine his future. Mitchell witnessed the entire act, his eyes blazing with anger, taking note of Marcus. This guy dares to embarrass me. Mitchell thought to himself, anger boiling within him. Ring up this pastry and some medicine for the child, Marcus said, his voice calm, expressionless, but containing a resilient strength, a choice bought with blood and tears. Mitchell turned to face Marcus, his eyes spitting fire. Playing hero, old friend, or just trying to get attention? I heard you're just a low-level cleaner, right? Do you even have enough money? He sneered, his voice full of challenge. Marcus said nothing, just looked directly at Mitchell, his gaze resolute and full of indignation, like an unspoken declaration. A fragrant chocolate pastry and a pack of children's cough medicine were placed in a paper bag. Marcus took it, gently handing it to little Ava. The child looked up, her big round eyes, still lingering with fear, now shining with a warm light, as if a miracle had just occurred. Kesha looked at Marcus, her eyes welling up, boundless gratitude filling her. She tried to speak, but her throat tightened. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling, hot tears streaming down her cheeks. It wasn't just a thank you for the pastry, but a thank you for the rare kindness she had received amidst life's contempt. He turned and walked away, leaving behind Mitchell's angry gaze and Kesha's emotional, somewhat bewildered eyes. The doorbell chimed as he exited, carrying a mixture of indignation, pain, and a newfound hope. Meanwhile, Marcus was trudging back to his lodging. His old truck coughed a few more heavy breaths, then suddenly died in the middle of the road, unable to restart. A cold shiver ran down his spine. He looked at it desperately, as if looking at a dying friend. He knew, The car was truly gone. He had just received a cruel call from the company. The manager's cold voice informed him he was immediately fired, without investigation, due to serious accusations. This shock hit him, like a fatal blow, almost making him collapse. No way, how could this happen? His only source of income had vanished, and his sister's future, his last hope, was now like a flickering candle. His sister would have to drop out of medical school, his parents' dream would vanish into thin air. He didn't just lose his job, his livelihood, he also lost faith in justice. Fear enveloped him. He didn't know how he would survive the coming days with no income. What would he eat, having used all his last money to help Kesha and Ava? As Marcus tried to push the car to the side of the road, 3 police cars with flashing blue and red lights suddenly appeared from both sides, blocking him on the deserted street. Headlights shone directly into Marcus's face through the windshield, making him squint. 3 officers stepped out, their faces grim, flashlights shining directly on him. "Get out of the car. Hands up, we received a report that you were involved in child abduction," an officer ordered, his voice full of suspicion, as if Marcus was a dangerous criminal. Marcus didn't resist. His mind was filled with indignation and helplessness, but he knew resistance was futile. He slowly opened the door, stepped out, and raised his hands. His worker's uniform was still stained with mud after a long day of work, and under the flashing police lights, it made him look even more suspicious. They asked for his ID, then stared at it as if searching for signs of guilt. After searching his empty car, and checking his documents without finding anything, they maintained a cold demeanor, without a word of apology, before turning and getting back into their cars. Marcus looked directly into the eyes of the last officer. His voice was calm and heavy, though his heart was heavy with extreme injustice. "I hope your children never have to experience this feeling." The 3 police officers remained silent, then drove straight away, leaving Marcus alone on the deserted road, with his dead truck and a completely shattered future. He knelt by the roadside, trembling all over, the biting cold of the snow seeping into his bones, but colder still was the despair gnawing at his soul. Is this the end? Is there no way out? That night, Marcus trudged back to his small lodging. The cramped and old room greeted him with its characteristic musty smell, now even more dismal. Marcus slumped onto the rickety wooden chair, a heavy feeling pressing on his chest. He stared at his father's old watch on his wrist. The second hand still steadily ticked forward, but for him time seemed to have stopped. He had lost his job, lost hope for his sister, lost his livelihood, lost everything. The phrase "you are immediately fired from the company manager" echoed in his head like a curse. His only source of income had vanished in a single afternoon, all because he had done the right thing. A wave of helplessness surged, engulfing him. What do I do now? How can I face my sister? How can I go on? He was the pillar, he had to bear the burden. But now his shoulders were heavy, and he didn't know how he would manage. He looked out the window. His old truck was now just an inanimate pile of metal, standing silently under the falling snow, a symbol of complete collapse. The feeling of being stripped of everything, of being pushed to the brink, enveloped him, threatening to pull him into the darkness. He sighed softly, then slowly pulled out his father's old faded photograph. In the picture his father smiled gently, but his eyes held a steady resolve. Marcus recalled a story his father used to tell. He had once been fired from his company just for intervening on behalf of someone else, protecting a vulnerable colleague. Now he was walking that very path, the path of integrity, even at too high a cost he felt he couldn't bear. What would father do in this situation? Would father give up? He placed the photo on his chest, taking a deep breath, trying to find some strength. His father's legacy was not money, but a reminder of values that never faded. But could he bear its weight? At the same time, Kesha's phone vibrated. It was her father. She was completely stunned, because it had been so long since they had spoken, a cold void, an invisible wall existing between father and daughter. "Mr. Whitman's voice on the other end was both stern and trembling, full of despair and suppressed love, a change Kesha hadn't heard in years. He asked her to meet him immediately. Kesha hesitated, her heart pounding as if it would burst. 1,000 questions racing through her mind. What does he want? Is it another reprimand? But finally a faint glimmer of hope for reconciliation made her agree. When they finally met, Kesha couldn't hold back her tears. She said nothing, just let the tears stream down her cheeks, as if releasing years of hurt and burden. She recounted everything, the extreme humiliation when Mitchell insulted her, the despair of not having enough money to buy a pastry for her sick child, and then the small but powerful ray of hope Marcus had brought, and how he had helped them find shelter on a cold winter night. She also told him about the chocolate pastry that had warmed little Ava's heart, about the struggling days of raising her child alone, the nights sleeping rough at the cold bus station, little Ava's fever, and the times she thought she couldn't go on. The tears she had swallowed back, so her child wouldn't see. Mr. Whitman listened, his face contorted with extreme pain and burning regret. Every word from his daughter was like a sharp knife carving into his heart, making him realize his own cruelty. He couldn't utter a word. Each of his daughter's stories was like a knife twisting into his heart. He knelt down, embracing Kesha tightly, his tears flowing, soaking her shoulder. "I'm sorry, Kesha. I was wrong. I was a terrible father. I let you endure all of this alone. Please forgive me. Forgive my blindness and my prejudice." His voice broke, filled with belated regret. Mr. Whitman's tears of remorse, Kesha's long-suppressed tears of love, flowed together, washing away all misunderstandings, all distances. It was a moment of complete healing, of eternal family love, igniting the flame of forgiveness and faith in a new beginning. Kesha felt a huge burden lifted, her heart warming again after so many cold years. Mitchell was immediately fired. Mr. Whitman didn't say much, just made a decisive decision, giving Mitchell no chance to defend himself. He felt utterly disgusted by Mitchell's cruelty. Afterward he inquired about Marcus. He knew Marcus had lost his job, his car, and that his kindness had come at too high a price. Mr. Whitman personally sought out Marcus, not only to express his deep gratitude, but also to redeem his own mistakes and indifference. Mr. Whitman found Marcus at his old lodging. Seeing Mr. Whitman, Marcus was a little surprised but remained calm. Mr. Whitman looked directly at Marcus, his eyes reflecting regret and sincerity. "Marcus, I didn't just come here to repay you but also to apologize. Apologize for what my bakery, and especially Mitchell, caused you. I've reviewed all the security camera footage. I know what you sacrificed. I know you lost your job and your car, all for an act of kindness." He paused, took a deep breath, then continued, his voice resolute. "I don't want your kindness to suffer anymore. I want to compensate you, and more importantly, I want to work with you to build a place where kindness is respected, protected. I want to offer you the position of manager of my Sweet Haven bakery, not a temporary position, but a strategic one, with full authority to run all bakery operations. Your salary will be triple your old job, enough for you and your family to live comfortably. I will also pay all tuition fees for your sister until she graduates medical school, and buy you a new truck, much better than your old one." Mr. Whitman looked at Marcus, his eyes full of hope. "I hope you will accept, Marcus. You possess the qualities I've always looked for. You will help me rebuild a true Sweet Haven, a place where no one will ever have to suffer what my daughter and Kesha went through. I trust you, Marcus. You are the only person I want to entrust with this faith." The offer stunned Marcus. A boundless sense of relief and gratitude washed over him. Is this a dream? Finally my sacrifices have been rewarded. He had been at the bottom of despair, and then a door suddenly opened, wider and brighter than anything he had ever dreamed of. He needed a job, badly, but he had never helped with the expectation of repayment. "I helped not to be repaid, Mr. Whitman," Marcus replied, his voice still calm, without a hint of greed or calculation. He saw in this offer not just an opportunity for himself, but also a way to ensure Kesha and Ava had a better life, an assurance for his sister's future. It was an opportunity for him to continue spreading kindness, but on a larger scale with solid support. After a moment's thought, Marcus accepted the manager position, with one condition. He looked at Mr. Whitman, his eyes firm. "I accept, sir, but I have one request. Kesha will also be given stable employment at this bakery, with a deserving salary, so she can take care of Ava without worrying about finances anymore. Mr. Whitman smiled contentedly, nodding without hesitation. Excellent, Marcus, that's a perfect condition. After being fired, Mitchell returned home in extreme anger and bitterness. He constantly followed the news of his case. When the story of Marcus and Kesha, along with Marcus becoming the bakery manager with a sky-high salary, began to spread rapidly on social media, Mitchell went mad. Envy and resentment consumed him. That low-level cleaner gets everything? Unacceptable. He looked at Marcus, that humble cleaner he once despised, now praised as a hero, valued, while he lost everything empty-handed, with nothing left. His jealousy and hatred reached their peak, gnawing at his mind every day. The online community quickly divided into factions. Some praised Marcus as a hero, a symbol of kindness. But there were also malicious comments, accusing Kesha of faking poverty and staging a scene to gain sympathy, calling Marcus a like-seeker, an opportunist, a self-promoter. They questioned Marcus becoming manager with such a huge salary, suggesting it was a disgusting secret deal, disguised as kindness, a setup to cover something up. Amidst the storm of public opinion, Marcus remained silent. He felt no need to justify what he had done. He knew the truth. He didn't engage in arguments, didn't offer explanations. Finally, he posted only one line on his personal page, a short but powerful statement, like an undeniable declaration, etched into people's hearts. I don't advertise kindness, I protect a mother, not a test. And conscience is not something that can be priced. That message quickly spread, becoming a powerful reminder of the true value of kindness, and Marcus's unshakable resolve, amidst the public storm, silencing those who spoke maliciously. The audience will feel astonishment and emotion when Marcus receives his sweet reward after extreme difficulties, but at the same time, clearly see the new doubts and challenges awaiting him, and how he faces them. Under Marcus's management, with Kesha also working at the bakery, the space became much warmer and friendlier. Customers flocked in and out, laughter echoed, and the fragrant smell of pastries seemed to warm even the cold winter air. Little Ava often came to play at the bakery. Her clear eyes now always sparkled with joy when she saw her mother and Uncle Marcus. The bakery didn't just sell pastries, it sold joy and kindness, becoming a beacon of compassion in the heart of the city. Every workday at Sweet Haven, Marcus felt peaceful and fulfilled. This was where he belonged, where he could truly make a difference. After being fired, Mitchell fell into extreme despair. He wandered aimlessly, facing failure and loneliness. He spent his meager savings, struggled to survive on odd jobs, shunned and despised by everyone. He slept rough in parks on cold nights, enduring the biting cold, gnawing hunger, and abandonment. He finally knew what it truly felt like to be alone, to become invisible. Initially, Mitchell still seethed with resentment. A persistent bitterness gnawed at him. He couldn't accept that he had failed so miserably. He still secretly followed the news about Marcus, about the increasingly prosperous Sweet Haven bakery, about the admiration Marcus received. Each time he saw Marcus's image appear in newspapers or on social media, his heart swelled with envy and contempt. That low-level cleaner just got lucky with an opportunity, he muttered, still convincing himself that Marcus's kindness was just a cheap act. Weeks passed, and Mitchell's savings dwindled. He tried to find a new job, but his arrogant attitude and termination record slammed every door shut. He began to live more precariously, gradually selling off valuables to survive. Loneliness and despair slowly engulfed him. He felt like a lost ship at sea, without direction. He no longer dared to meet old friends, out of pride, and because he didn't want to face the truth that he had lost everything. He began to sleep rough in parks on cold nights, enduring the biting cold, gnawing hunger, and abandonment. He finally understood the biting cold and gnawing emptiness that Kesha and Ava had experienced. One afternoon, Mitchell huddled on a park bench, his stomach aching with hunger, bone-chilling cold. He saw a young woman drop her shopping bag, vegetables scattering on the dirty snow. Everyone rushed past, no one paying attention, or just glancing briefly before hurrying on. Mitchell remembered himself, once indifferent and contemptuous of the vulnerable. Now he was in a similar position, even worse. As he watched the young woman pick up each dropped item alone, a deep sense of self-disgust rose within him. It wasn't anger, but a burning shame, a realization of his own cruelty, and the emptiness it had created. He remembered the words he had spoken, the actions he had taken, and the cold indifference he had once shown. He realized he was the worst kind of person. At the same time, a luxurious car screeched to a halt in front of Sweet Haven Bakery. A woman with neatly tied-up hair, an expensive fur coat, and sharp eyes stepped inside. She wasn't from a charity organization, she was a powerful media mogul, known for turning ordinary stories into controversial and dramatic reality TV shows regardless of ethics. She went straight to the counter, called Marcus over, and spoke softly, her voice full of mystery, like an offer from the devil. "Marcus, I know your story with Kesha, and all you sacrificed. Very impressive. I have an offer. I'm willing to pay you a huge sum, enough for you to build an entire chain of large bakeries, ensuring a comfortable life for you, your family, and Kesha for life, without having to do anything else, if you agree to participate in my show. We'll build a dramatic script, but to boost ratings and attract viewers, we need a little drama, a little dark side. You'll have to recount the story, but in a completely different way. Kesha is a scammer, you were just an innocent person used, and it was all a staged act for attention. We'll even stage a scene where you personally destroy your father's watch on live television, as a symbol of your awakening, abandoning old values to embrace harsh reality. This is your only chance to become a millionaire, Marcus." Marcus looked at his father's old watch on his wrist, feeling its familiar weight. This watch was the only memento left of his deceased father, a symbol of the values he always cherished, of unshakable integrity, of kindness forged through hardship. He looked at the woman, then glanced at Kesha laughing with customers, and little Ava playing in the corner of the bakery. He also saw Mitchell, quietly cleaning the storeroom, his shoulders thin and hunched. There was no hesitation or wavering in Marcus's heart. He felt a deep contempt for the offer. He smiled faintly, but his eyes were more resolute than ever, a resolve tested to the very end. "Thank you for your interest," Marcus said, his voice calm and firm, but containing an absolute refusal. "But this is not for sale. My honor and my father's legacy are priceless. I will never sell out the truth, or betray the trust of those I protect for any price. Money can never buy peace of mind, and I will never turn kindness into cheap entertainment." He decisively refused all offers, without hesitation, without regret. His kindness was not a commodity to be traded, or a story to be sold. It was the core of who he was, the reason for his existence. Soon after, Mitchell returned. He no longer had his usual arrogant demeanor. He stood quietly at the end of the line, wearing a worn old coat, his face full of remorse, his eyes heavy. When it was his turn, Mitchell looked directly at Marcus, his eyes pleading, a faint glimmer of hope, like a drowning man clutching at a lifeline. "Marcus," he said softly, his voice hoarse, choked, "I need a job. Anything. I was wrong. I behaved terribly. I lost everything, and I tasted true destitution. I just want to do something right, to atone for my mistakes. Please, give me a chance. I know I don't deserve it, but please give me a chance to become a decent person again." Marcus looked at Mitchell, his eyes full of understanding and compassion, without any judgment. He had once experienced the despair of losing everything. He knew where Mitchell was. He didn't want Mitchell to suffer any more. Everyone deserves a second chance to correct their mistakes, Marcus thought to himself. He turned to Kesha, his eyes seeking her agreement. Kesha looked at Mitchell, her eyes still bearing old scars, but now mixed with understanding. She nodded gently. "All right, Mitchell," Marcus said, his voice softening. "You can start working in the bakery's storage room. It's tough work, but the pay is enough for you to manage. We believe in second chances. Show everyone you can change." Mitchell looked up at Marcus, tears in his eyes. Thank you, Marcus. I won't let you down." He bowed deeply, his heart filled with gratitude, and a new glimmer of hope, a new beginning for his life.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.